Is a former congressional candidate, and she has a lot to say about a lot of different things. I was reading about you, and what a fascinating woman you are. But you've got some interesting things to say about artificial intelligence in elections. And, we hear about the threats and the dangers of artificial intelligence. We also hear that it's good for some stuff as well. It doesn't seem like it should play a role in elections, but we know it's pretty inevitable, isn't it?
Well, it is, and what's really interesting is it's it's bridging the generational gap, too, because a lot of people think of AI as, well, I saw iRobot. Well, that's kind of it, but here's what it is. I feel like I have to interpret what my kids are doing now to just the generational gap, but what it essentially is it's allowing, we used to be response time, political messaging. These were all controlled by content creators, and it would be days in response. Now you're talking about minutes. Mm-hmm. So an example, when Joe Biden announced he was running for re-election, the Republicans had a computer-generated, an AI-generated response ad, we'll put response and not attack ad in quotes, within minutes of that announcement. And that's information pulled, content pulled from all across the Internet that was instantly mobilized and put out. And that's where inherently the danger lies, is now anyone, absolutely anybody with no credentials and no tools can be a content creator, and that information is protected. Free speech.
I should tell you that our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, voted Best Personal Injury Law Firm in the Best of Indiana County contest. Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Raven, another thing about this is that with AI, it is so good at creating false and misleading images and can actually have candidates saying the exact opposite of what their position is. It is so good at compiling that and creating that you have no idea who to trust. We could watch a candidate and not even know that that's a real thing.
Correct. And then let's take that on the flip side. What happens when you get to the litigation side, when you have an issue? I mean, they are saying right now they're not going to regulate this, that they're saying that campaign speech is protected, whether it creates, it has partly false information, mostly false. We don't know where the information comes from, so there's an anonymity element. And then who is responsible for AI-generated content? Is that protected free speech? Mm-hmm. Those are some really deep, thought-provoking questions. And so we should just, if, we have a concern about, for example, Mark Zuckerberg putting $400 million into an election. Well, then where does that leave the tech giants in terms of this, if that's where these are being pulled from multiple online international sources, that are going to be difficult to trace? The response will be coming back quicker than any kind of justice. So I tell people like this, now that you don't even have to wait till the speech is over to criticize your candidate.
Well, the Federal Election Commission did decide that they were just going to step back and not institute any new regulations regarding AI. And I'm wondering, Raven, did they punt? Is that all they did? Was they just said, we don't have the capabilities to keep up with this stuff, so we're just going to punt it and let you deal with it as candidates and as the public and the electorate?
Correct. And they're taking a layer off of we the people. It's funny when they say they can't versus they won't. And that's something that I encourage people to always pay attention to. We won't be doing this. It's not that they can't do it. They're not going to. So that's what we need to be taking care of. If this goes pear-shaped, if this goes wrong, what's the recourse for the American people? And that's what people need to be asking. How much of, your rights and your ability to decide about your governance are you going to turn over, to AI or to individuals? That means I could be a content creator. I could put out whatever I want to support my candidate. And this really affects the independents and the swing voters more than anything.
Well, it seems as well that when you look back at the 2020 presidential election campaign and its reaction from the 2016 campaign, that they've gone in the opposite direction now. And in 2020, whereas it was private companies saying, we're going to choose our candidates and we're going to restrict everybody else, now there will be no restrictions on anybody.
You got that. You got that right. I mean, who polices the police? I mean, I'm old enough to remember when we had paper ballots and we knew who the president was that day. Now we've got we spend more time in litigation, more time analyzing the validity of things with elections than we have of anything else. We have gone hyper the wrong way on this, and we need to return. If we don't have those issues fixed, let's not bring the new ones in.
Raven has a new book out. It is Fighting the Betrayal of America. It's called Raven's Mantle, Fighting the Betrayal of America. You are a former congressional candidate yourself. What's the betrayal?
Yes.
What's the betrayal, Raven?
The betrayal is, my father used to say this, and I have to really get myself for the eye rolls I did for this when he said, those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. And I'm from a generation that understands. I grew up in the Cold War. I had a parent in the Pentagon on 9/11. I was in the Vegas massacre, and culminating to having my daughter thrown out of school at 8 years old for voting for Trump in a mock election we knew nothing about in her elementary school. Our country, we're losing it. We are unraveling the essence of it, and we need to pull it back. So it's an action plan, not just what's wrong. What are we going to do about it?
Well, there certainly is a lot of ammunition there for you to attack a problem. My goodness, but AI is right there. It's taking over every aspect of our society, just in terms of the conversation.
Yes.
And it seems like in this case, the Federal Election Commission has said, well, we're going to stay out of that conversation and let everybody else battle it out and see where AI ends up.
Well, and that's it. And that's the thing is we're not so much they're taking it. We're relinquishing. We are giving convenience. And I tell people there's a convenience fee for everything. Convenience fee for eating out every day is poor health. The convenience fee for not being plugged in on what's happening in your election is often communism or loss of freedoms and rights. We've got to be paying attention. Sometimes it's not worth what we're getting for what we're giving.
So people will be looking at this coming presidential campaign, not sure exactly if what they're hearing from a candidate is actually what the candidate said. What should we be doing as an electorate, looking at this campaign from the outside and understanding that we're going to have to cast votes here for a candidate we prove or we decide is best representing our views when we're not sure what those views are? What is the solution from our standpoint?
Well, I trust the American people. I trust myself. So I don't like having my information spoon-fed. So what I suggest to people is take your onus back. You look into their candidate, look into their record, treat it like a resume. These are people applying for a job. They're applying for your vote. And it should not be in the hands of a video contenter. It should not be in the hands of the Internet. It should be we the people. Do the homework, find out, use your vote.
Raven's Mantle, where are we going to learn more about that?
On Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com, and we're in bookstores. Or they can go to RavenHarrison.com.
RavenHarrison.com. Raven, thanks so much for spending some time with us today. Appreciate it.
Glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Stay cool. It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com.